hockey. Yeah.
My favorite.
It's Judd's Hockey Show.
All right, Judd's Hockey Show, Judd and AJ. And AJ, I will say this. Saturday, I'm up in the press box, of course, watching the game from up top. You know, it's a great view of the ice itself, but you don't get a real feel for the game. But you, meanwhile, were in rock star seats.
Yeah.
So you had an actual feel, what, near the glass? The gal got you a couple of tickets for your birthday or something?
Yeah,
so
it was a delayed birthday present. So thankful for my better half there. She splurged and treated us to some rock, like you said, rock star seats. Right on. I could
awesome.
tell Justin Brazeau, hey, we need you to get it in gear. We line up for a face off, and lo and behold, in that second period, boy, did they really get things going. But yeah, no, it was a fun time. I will say, and this is just maybe because I've been spoiled now.
Yeah,
I do prefer being a little higher up. Like, it's cool to sit down low, but that's why, like,
right.
As a kid, always going, like, we get those seats type of thing. Always sat up in the upper bowl. You get to see more of the game.
Yeah.
You're not craning your neck. You don't have like the warped glass or whatever. So, you know, kids out there, if you're looking to go to a game, there's nothing wrong with like with the cheaper seats. It's more of that fan experience.
The difference, in my opinion, is this: if I could, it's great to sit down low in all sports once in a while, just to get a feel for how fast the game is. Like, that's the one thing you don't get from the press box. It does appear fairly simple, not simple, but it's like, oh, okay, why didn't this guy do this? And you definitely don't get a feel for like the checking, right? And the hits and the snap decisions that you do down low. So I do think it helps create a better understanding of exactly how competitive and how quick now, especially now, right, that the game is by being low. And I'm sure that also it helps you appreciate the skill guys more. Because like those skill guys are doing things that are just like, oh, I didn't realize the game was going this fast till I watched them do that.
Yeah, and like the physicality too, the amount of like just what you would perceive as like a simple rub off in the corner. Okay, he separated him from the puck. There was one, I think, in the third period. Trennan goes into the boards on like a back check or something, or maybe it was the second period because it was a forecheck. But he goes in and he kind of gets taken down in a weird, like coincidental legs get tied up, and the sound was just booming. I'm like, how is this guy going to get up? He pops right back up, and Yakov Trennan, tough as nails. So it like you said, it gives you a little bit more appreciation of, okay, yeah, this is how fast and physical and how nimble and quick-witted you have to be to play this game. It's a nice change of pace. Every once in a while, it is fun to do that just to kind of remind yourself exactly what you're watching.
So the Wild beats the Sabres on Saturday. And don't look now, but we have a race in the Central Division. Yeah. So the Dallas Stars actually are the struggling team. The Jets lost somehow to the Sabres on Sunday, but they are at 100 points. The Dallas Stars 8 points behind in second place in the Central. But the Dallas Stars are the struggling team in the division. It's 6-2-2 in their last 10. Colorado has now won 2 straight, but more importantly, they are 8-1-1 in their past 10. The Wild is now 6-3-1 with 3 consecutive wins. And so they are 85 points. So it's Colorado 92 points, or I'm sorry, Dallas 92 points, Colorado 89 points, Minnesota 85 points, 4 points back. And the St. Louis Blues, red hot age, 8-1-1 in their past 10. They have now won 6 consecutive games. Monty is having a very good effect on that team. 81 points. They're in wild card 2. The Wild is in wild card 1, but only 4 points, just like 4 points separate the Wild in wild card 1 from the third place Colorado Avalanche in the Central Division. The Blues are only 4 points back of the Wild. Now the Blues have played 72 games. The Wild's played 70, but nonetheless, this is getting very intriguing. The Wild now has Dallas tonight in Dallas, and then comes back home and plays the Golden Knights on Tuesday. So this is going to be a time where points are definitely at a premium. It's going to be difficult. I will say the Wild has returned to being able to score goals, which is nice. And Philip Gustafsson in goal continues to look absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and I think that's been the highlight because even Saturday, like they won 4-1 at the end of the game, but after 20 minutes, I think you could have argued that Buffalo was the better team. They probably should have been up a goal or two, but Phil Gustafsson once again stands on his head. It wasn't until JJ Peterka put one by him late in the game, I think, of just a bad like transition defense, left a 3-on-1, and then Dahlin kind of works his magic and sets up a give and go. Other than that, he's been lights out here the past couple of nights, and I can see why John Hines and the crew are looking to lean on him. I think fans are hoping that at some point the Wild can maybe lock up a playoff position just so that you can probably get Marc-Andre Fleury in the net a couple more times before he has his swan song, because you don't, based on the play we're seeing, you don't expect Gustafsson to not be the main guy in their first and probably only playoff round. So but other than that, when it comes to the offense, I don't know if I'm necessarily like thinking, okay, monkey off their back. Like, it's great to see the puck go in the back of the net, whether it's an empty netter or whatever. But there's a difference between scoring against like the Colorado Avalanche and the Buffalo Sabres. The Sabres are just not a good hockey team. I was actually really excited because I don't know if you remember, but the comment that Marcus Foligno made a couple months back, I don't even know what the context was, but it was like, you know what? It's better to be here than what, you could be Buffalo right now. And just, I expected a little more raucous behavior on both sides on Saturday. That didn't really come to fruition, but to say that they're like out of the woods on their scoring troubles, I'm not prepared there, but it is a good stepping stone, because if you can't even score against bad teams, then you have no shot, like no hope against better teams. So scoring now, it is a good thing to see, but until they play a good team, a real test, and can put up 3 or 4, then I'll be officially, okay, we're out of the woods and this team is back to scoring again.
Speaking of that, so again, tonight at Dallas, come home, play the Golden Knights on Tuesday. Alexander Ovechkin and the Capitals are here on Thursday. Unfortunately, I think he's too far away from the record now, but I was hoping. And then you've got a back-to-back on Saturday, and I think it's on Monday then, against the Devils, who are injured. They're decimated, but they are in a playoff spot still. They're in third place in the Metropolitan Division, and so they are still very much pursuing a playoff spot. So I think we're about to see, certainly with the Stars and Golden Knights and Capitals, who have clinched a playoff spot but have had a great season, we are about to see the Wild get a test. Meanwhile, the Blues, just for the sake of this exercise, the Blues have Montreal at home, at Nashville, at Colorado. So their week is what? The Canadians are playing really well. That's a tough one.
Yep.
At Nashville, they just beat them, and the Predators look like a hopeless cause. And then obviously the Avs are tough. So it's going to be a really intriguing week. I'm with you. I'm not convinced that the goal scoring is fixed, but it looks like they can finally get a puck in the bleeping net. And we talked about this last week. I think it was Matt Boldy broke his scoreless streak at 10 games. And then on Saturday, Marco Rossi scores his first goal in 11 games. So at least that first line is starting to put the puck in the net. And we still await to see age if Kirill Kaprizov and Judd Eriksson Ek, who we actually did see at the game, he surfaced on Saturday in the press box with the scratches. If those two guys start to skate, I have a feeling Kaprizov will start to skate before Ek, and I don't know if and when either comes back, but clearly the potential boost of a Kaprizov return would be enormous. I don't expect him to be on his game, but just the fact that he would be back, I think, would definitely give this team a boost.
Yeah, reading body language and just morale based on some of the down play that we saw was almost like these guys are told, yeah, Kaprizov might be done. You're kind of just going to have to play without him. And then it was just like this wave of, well, guys, shucks, what are we going to do now? What we've seen now is like, okay, light at the end of the tunnel. We got to make it through, maybe this date, and then potentially he's going to return. The Wild right now, based on tankathon.com, have the 8th strongest remaining schedule of games. They have the Capitals once, Stars twice, Vegas once, but they have a slew of really, really bad teams as well. But in those 12 games, they do have some 4 of them are very, very tough teams. 3 of them against teams in your divisions, or not in your conference. So it is going to be like teams battling for points, looking for very important playoff seeding. The Blues, as you mentioned, 14th strength of schedule. So there are teams that are in a better spot. But if the Wild can, as we've seen, like they got off to such a strong start with the season. Now it's the opposite of what we've seen this team do the past couple of seasons, where at this point they're playing catch up and they, you need all these chips to fall the other way. And like we saw, I think it was Friday night, that doesn't happen in the NHL. You need 2 games to go your way, and all of a sudden one of them goes to overtime. So 2 teams that you want to lose, but somehow, they are now sharing not just 2, but 3 points. They're splitting those amongst themselves. And then whoever else, like the Kings, are coming out of nowhere, and they're going to help themselves in the standings, so that if they drop into a wild card, you now get bumped down into 2 or whatever that would be. They are in a spot where it's still very much in their own hands, but you do need to win a couple games here and there. Like tonight, tomorrow, it's a quick turnaround, but you are coming back home, so that would be the beneficiary there. But you're still playing a back-to-back, but you probably should expect to win one of those. Like, they're 2 very tough teams, but you should have to, with how this season is going, you have 12 games left now. You do need 2 points from at least one of those games. Even if you can force overtime in both, that is like mitigating the damage. It's a paper cut and not a stab wound at that point. But the fact that we have seen them now kind of kickstart the 5-on-5 scoring again, which was just abysmal a week ago, that does raise my spirits a little bit, as long as you can do it against teams like Dallas and Vegas, because those are just totally different animals than, the Rangers or the Sharks.
Right. The Golden Knights game intrigues me on Tuesday night, because that is the team that currently the Wild would play in the first round. Mm-hmm. So they're the first place team in the Pacific. So if the season were to end today, the Blues would play the Jets, and the Wild then, as wild card 1, would get the Golden Knights. And I got to be honest, if I'm handicapping this thing, my man, I would rather play the Golden Knights than I would play the Stars or the Avs in the first round.
I agree.
I would rather play, and if I am a team in the Western Conference, the thought of a Stars Avs first round, like, as a fan, I don't like this, but if I'm a team, I love this, because someone is going to lose, which is good news, and someone is going to get the crap kicked out of them. So like you're literally going to soften, I would guess, one of those 2 teams up when they advance to the second round. And meanwhile, if I'm the Wild, I think I would rather take my chance with the Golden Knights than I would have to face the Avs or the Stars. Or certainly with the way that they played the Jets. So I don't know that wild card 1 is necessarily a bad thing. Now, let me look quick here, because as you mentioned, the Kings are playing well. So the Golden Knights lead the Pacific at 92 points. The Kings are at 87 points, and the Oilers are too. The Kings have a game in hand. So I don't know, man. I think if I was to take my chances first round right now, I would probably tell you the Golden Knights are good. They're a well-coached team, but you know what? Give me the Golden Knights before you give me one of those 2 Central Division teams that I just talked about.
Yeah, this is looking at a season where you're almost being rewarded for not being that great. Like, the wild card 1 seems like the safest little nook and cranny you can wedge yourself in, because let's say you drop down to wild card 2, your reward is going to be playing the red hot, and I would say, like, maybe not talked about 100-point team so far. Like, we got the Capitals. That story with Ovi is great, and they're dominating the narrative. I think people have almost forgotten at times just how good this Winnipeg Jets team is. They're deep. They play a very good fundamental game from start to finish. Like, that's the thing. They play all 60 minutes. They don't take their foot off the gas. Right. So, and they're probably thinking, okay, as long as we can stay in 1, and then you have that Dallas Stars Colorado Avalanche first round, if they can win either sweep or in 5 games, they're going to be sitting pretty. They're going to have a couple nights to rest before they get a battered and bruised either Stars or Avalanche team. But if you sit in that wild card 1, I mean, we're not saying that we think, and I'm sure I'm speaking on behalf of you here as well, but I don't think we're saying that the Vegas Golden Knights are a pushover. They're not like a fraud 92-point first in their division team.
No,
they're a really good hockey team. But it's when it comes to, do you want 2 Lions or do you want 1? Like, who do you want to fight in the Coliseum? I'll take the Golden Knights right now because they seem like, 1, the Wild probably match up a little bit better with them on paper, but 2, like, they have weaknesses that I think you can exploit that the Wild, and you would hopefully expect with now a coach who's willing to react and change game plans in a playoff series. John Hines can probably recognize that and at least try to counter what they're doing. Whereas in the past under Dean Evason, not that Dean has not grown as a coach now with Columbus, but we've seen where he's just like bullheaded. No, we're going to stick to our game plan. It's going to work and blah, blah, blah. You know, you might force game 6, game 7, but then eventually the better team prevails. I think John Hines probably can react, look at what they're doing and counter that with the Wild.
No, I'm saying that, like, if I'm the Avs, I prefer the Golden Knights. Whoever gets that, I don't want to. If I do not want to face that Dallas Avs thing is tough. And I am in no way, shape, or form, just to be clear, picking the Wild in the first round. I'm just saying, if you're going to take the lesser of evils, I would rather have the Golden Knights. Now, Dallas is sort of weird. The Mikko Rantanen thing, I don't get. He is like, I don't know, he's great with the Avs. He gets traded to Carolina. I guess we surmised he was not pleased about it or was shaken by the trade. Carolina tries to sign him long-term. He's like, no, he balks at that. So then he sort of struggles there. He leaves, gets traded to Dallas. Now, Carolina got blown out on Saturday by the Kings. But the reality is this: Carolina overall has played better hockey when Rantanen left. Then Rantanen goes to Dallas, and he's not exactly filling up the net there. So it's sort of odd. But yeah, I am not going to pick the Wild to win in the first round, no matter what. They haven't won the first round since 2015. But I would rather play the Golden Knights. I do the
discussions online that maybe Rantanen was being carried by a McKinnon, and now because he has 4 goals, or maybe it's only 4 points in 20 games combined for his tenure across both Carolina and now into Dallas. Like, it has been, and granted, it was a topsy-turvy time. I'm sure that does a little bit for mentally, where your headspace is at. But if you're a good enough player, you'd think you'd be able to pot a couple more.
I think there's some guys when they get traded in season are really shaken by it. If Mikko Rantanen comes back for the Stars next season and struggles, then we got a problem. There are some guys, they're people, man, and there are some guys that don't. I think he was so comfortable there. I think he thought that he was going to get the bag from the Avalanche after the season. I think that this is a guy who is shaken. I think he's shaken. And now, again, if he comes back next fall and struggles, that's a talker then. But I've seen guys, man, there are an endless amount of players in every sport who have been traded, and they're really good, and they do not handle it well. So, hey, speaking of, I want you to handle your plans before the next Wild game well by stopping in at Parlor Bar. Perfect spot to stop before a game. Parlor Bar, located right down West 7th Street in St. Paul from the X. Absolutely fantastic. Great brunch on weekends. They serve lunch from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Wednesday through Friday. And then to circle back to the game thing, special game day menu available 3 hours before face-off. That's right. It's absolutely fantastic. They've got great drinks. They've got great food. I've stopped in several times. The service is absolutely magnificent. And I'm sure by now that you've all heard about the fantastic Parlor Burger, but how about that chicken sandwich? I'm going to tell you right now, it's a second line center, okay? The burger first line, but every Stanley Cup champion team needs a really, really good second line center, and the chicken sandwich is exactly that. So again, next game, make your plans. Parlor Bar, West 7th, only steps away from the X. Absolutely, absolutely outstanding stuff. All right. Saw this stat on Saturday. Past 6 games, the penalty kill is 13 of 14. That's right. The Minnesota Wild penalty kill has given up in the past 6 games 1 power play goal. Now, Joe Smith of The Athletic, AJ, did a really in-depth, deep dive. I thought it was good. And among the things is, yes, they've expanded the amount of guys that are now playing on the PK, Boldy has been in the meetings all season long, but only was started to use consistently on the PK in the last, I don't know, month or so. Gus Nyquist, who for the most part's invisible completely, but Gus Nyquist has done a nice job on the PK. And I think this is where the Hustadinov trade talk gets interesting because, again, I like the kid, but, the PK with him was not good. The PK without him very much improved. And it sounds like from a fundamental standpoint, too, beyond the personnel that is deployed on the PK age, that what they've done is they have essentially made it a little bit easier. They took away some of the rules. So like they didn't change the formation, diamond to box or something like that, but they took away some of the rules and it opened it up for more guys to be able to step in now without it being as intricate. Whatever they're doing, keep doing it, because it's nice to see a penalty kill that isn't consistently giving up what, could be considered absolutely backbreaking goals.
Yeah, I mean, how nice of a thing is that to see? Finally, you can take a penalty. Somebody goes, just brain dead, trips a guy, boom, all of a sudden you're in the box. But it's not a death sentence. You're able to go out there and you're killing 2 minutes and you look competent. You know how to take away passing lanes. You get in front of shooting lanes and you can clear the puck out of your own zone. It seems like they're being a little more aggressive. And we've talked about this briefly where they're pressuring the puck carrier constantly. It's not, okay, we're going to give you space. And when you get, within a stick length, that's when we're really going to put pressure on you. It seems like the entire group, all 4 guys, seem to be shifting and moving, which on the back door, you're probably leaving a gaping space. But the thing is, like, when you're pressuring, you're also going to counter that by then getting in the passing lane so you can't get it to that guy. You have to work around the perimeter, which we've watched the Wild do on the power play how many times, and we know how effective that is. So yeah, it's been a nice little change of things for the Wild, and I'm glad that just simplifying their plan, not overhauling it, but they had the tools in place, but just keeping it a little more simple is what seems to have been a fix, as long as it can keep up here for the final 12 games into the postseason. Because if things go bad and turn sour again right before the playoffs, I mean, that's when you're going to play the Golden Knights, and they're going to be lighting things up with Stone and Eichel on the power play, and that's when you're going to have a bad time.
Yeah, so in fact, one of the primary problems in that Dallas series a couple of years ago in the playoff series was the fact that Dallas gouged them on the power play consistently. The penalty kill was absolutely terrible. And I mean, yes, special teams can easily win or lose you a playoff series. So if you can just be competent there, if you could just stop teams, and it's not a lot to ask, I mean, you shouldn't be near the bottom of the league consistently there. I'm not saying be top 10. I'm not saying be top 5. I am saying, hey, how about 15th?
Yeah.
How about a PK that is 15th, and that every time a team goes on a power play, and sometimes it's not good teams, so it's not these juggernauts consistently. I got one more thing before we go. I want to ask you about this because we've now seen this a couple times in the past 3 or 4 years. I'm sure that you saw the highlight last night. We nearly had a goalie fight. Jeremy Swayman, Darcy Kemper, Kings Bruins, okay? And much like with the Marc-Andre Fleury, who has a goalie fight on his bucket list, a goal and a goalie fight, a few years back against the Blues when Jordan Binnington was going to score off with Flower and the officials immediately stepped in. Last night, the referee steps in on Swayman, I believe. The linesman on Kemper. Why can we not allow a good goalie? Like, we allow fights. I saw a tweet and it was absolutely perfect. The league basically used for its content purposes the 4 nations fisticuffs to start that US-Canada game. That was their marketing. What is better marketing than a goaltender fight? Why are we drawing a line at by the way, very rare. Why are we drawing a line at the very rare goalie fights? Help me out here.
And it wasn't like it was this it seemed very natural. Like there was a lot of tension building, a lot of angst on both sides. Swayman.
Kemper a little bit. Oh, okay.
Big time. But it's Swayman, says, you know what? Hey, if you're taking a step out, I'm already here, pal. Let's go. He gets the blocker off. He undoes the glove. He takes the helmet off. And then before he can even do that, the referee's on him like a sweater. What are we doing here? What on earth? In Gary Bettman's NHL, we can't have good playoff matchups and we can't have goalie fights, apparently. I don't understand why. Like, you're that is the worst way to grow the game. Like, as diehard fans, I guarantee there's going to be a handful of people out there that if that had happened would be like, oh, that's so stupid. There's no need for this. And I get that. That's
right.
If people are in that bunker, that's how they feel. But you know who else loves that? 90% of America. Everybody else. And you know who else loves that? 100% of casual hockey fans. That, frankly, that's kind of why they tune in. That they've seen that from the early 2000s, late 90s. They've played that like NHL
Patrick
hits
Waugh.
back in the day. Patrick Waugh, Vernon, Jimmy,
Howard?
Jimmy Howard. Did he do one with the Red Wings, or am I thinking of a different Red Wings goalie? I'm not sure. Who had the like the player helmet? It doesn't matter. But
I don't remember.
I forget. But like that, it doesn't make sense as to why. Like the Bruins, their season's basically done. I understand the Kings are in a playoff position, so you want to probably, if it was a backup goalie for them, maybe that's a different story. But it doesn't make sense in my mind why you break that up. That's just pure television. It's pure entertainment. That's to what you're talking about. The league used the USA Canada stuff to market the game, and now you're going to get that in, it's not going to be the same level, but it's a goalie fight, so it's a different beast.
And they never happen.
And they just never happen. Like,
that's the thing about it.
There needs to be a memo sent that's like, hey, if this happens, you have to use your judgment, and you're not going to be reprimanded for letting this go.
I would rather have, in 2025, if you insist on a shootout, I would prefer a goalie fight, and the winner, his team gets the 2 points, than a shootout. Like a goalie fight is a special thing. And I don't know why that's where we like draw the line of no, that's a bridge too far. We can literally open, this unbelievable, phenomenal NHL sanctioned tournament with 3 consecutive fights. And that's awesome, which by the way, was pretty cool. Yeah. But now guys got hurt, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, that was pretty cool. But now, oh my God, it's an arbitrary Boston Kings game. We cannot have this. And then I'll go back to it. The Flower thing. The Flower Binnington thing was going to be spectacular. Do you know what the Marc-Andre Fleury archive, like he's got an archive, right? Like he's got so many great moments, defining moments. That would have probably been like top 5.
That would have gone perfectly in the wing he's going to get dedicated to him in the Hockey Hall of Fame. Like, And now we'll never have that, other than, I mean, granted, he still has a few games potentially slip one in, but also a week ago you had a line brawl where 10 guys got put in the penalty box between the Capitals and whoever they were playing, and that was fine and dandy. And I get it. There's only 4 officials, so you can only do 1 to a scrum.
Right.
But you're letting that go. You're letting a mass brawl ensue, but God forbid the guys wearing the most protection on the ice can't just drop him and throw. And granted, how much are they actually going to like damage?
Not much. That's the point.
You're going to throw a body shot. It's going to hit like it's a pillow.
I mean,
like
if you go back and watch on YouTube the Waugh Vernon fight when it was the Avs against the Wings, okay, that's a great goaltender fight. Like those are haymakers. That's a fantastic fight. But it is very rare now if goalies do, and they don't much, mix it up. They might get a couple of punches in, especially to your point, a goaltender fight itself. It's ridiculous. And I was watching that and I'm like, what? Just let them fight. Especially, Boston, Los Angeles, just let them go. Kemper wants a fight. In the case of the Blues game, Fleury wanted to. Binnington's, nuts. So I just watched that and I'm like, the fun police, it's like you don't have fun police until you do. And when you do, you have them at the wrong time. Like you said, go work on the playoff formula. Go work on the overtime. Go work on things that matter. Quit, I don't know. It seems like they've instructed the officials, no matter what, don't let the goaltenders fight, which is the craziest thing, because that's the one fight where there is almost no chance anyone gets hurt. Like, if you are going to break up a goaltender fight, then you should step in on guys swinging, because there's a lot more chance. And of course you don't. And by the way, that's okay too. I don't expect them to.
And the PR team, like the PR people for the NHL, are probably watching that thinking, oh my God, we're about to have content to use in commercials and promo videos for the next 5 to 10 years. Oh no, why are you stepping in? You just made my job so much harder.
You're right.
How are we going to appeal to the casual fan? These would have done numbers, bazillions of hits on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. Oh,
it being broken up did numbers. Like that's the thing about it. Like
imagine
it
if
was
they would have
all over
actually
Twitter last night.
meeting
Yes.
together, throwing a couple punches would have been insane.
Oh, all right, we're done. Of course, back with our Tuesday JHS with Jesse Pierce as well tomorrow. So plenty of talk about the Wild, and also plenty of talk probably about the game against the Dallas Stars, and the never-ending 11 games at home in the month of March. Still has 3 games left. 3, count them 3. So we'll talk to you tomorrow with Jesse.